Hello everyone. This week we're talking about aggregate analysis, and I've written a little bit about aggregate analysis in the sort of introductory videos that we're going to look at. I couldn't really find a good, short, direct to the point video on how to use the visualization tools, so I'm going to make one for you real quick, and it's going to be brief, and I'm not nearly going to cover all the stuff you can do with visualization tools, but I just want to make you aware of how to get to the visualization tools and the power of Microsoft Excel in sort of interpreting your data and determining what it is it should show you or how it should show you that data. We'll start off by explaining the file that I've got going on here. This is a customer list of sales information. And I start off with, in my first column, I've got customers, and I've got a list of customers. My second column is sales, and this is actually sales that the customer, total sales that the customer purchased between January 1st of this year and November 30th of this year. Assume it's last year because we're not at November 30th yet when I'm making this video. But anyway, it's basically sales for most of the year. And then what I'm looking at in column C is, well, if they bought that much throughout most of the year, how much did they buy at Christmas time? And we can use this file to sort of predict what the customer is going to be doing at Christmas time. Then I also track the state of residence, so that's a fourth field. We can just sort of see geographically how that's broken out. So this is just a simple data file. It doesn't have that many records, and I can go ahead and click on customer and then say, well, all right, I want to see this graphically. Now, part of what we're talking about with aggregate analysis is first either using the aggregate function or some of the aggregate functions to count what we have, to determine the breakdown of a particular field, to give us an idea of what we have in our data file so that we can start asking better questions. That is either done through the aggregate function, which I've already provided you a video for and described a little bit, or it's done using the visualization tools. To get to the visualization tools, we can go to Insert. We're going to insert a visualization. We're going to insert a graph or chart. And over here is this lovely function called Recommended Charts. What this does is it will look at the data that you have in your file, and it will make recommendations as to how you might want to see that data broken out. And it does a pretty good job. Many of the charts that it gives us are really useless, ones we wouldn't want to use, but other ones are really actually very useful. So here's the first one, and the first one is basically it is a histogram, and it's showing us, remember state of residence, we got state of residence here, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, and Washington. What are total sales, aggregate total sales by state? That already begins to tell us a little bit about our data file, and we may want to look at, okay, how come Utah is spending so little? How come Idaho is spending so much? So that's the first chart that we have. Second, and this is, by the way, this is Christmas sales. So this is Christmas sales. The Idahoans spend more at Christmas time, and the Utah people don't. So that's something that we now know about our file that we didn't know before, and would be really hard for us to know if we just looked at the data. Come down here and we look at some of sales. This is sales for the year. Again, Utah is bottoming out. Why is Utah not spending a lot of money? That may tell us or inform us that we want to do something later on. We want to do something as far as advertising in Utah. But just those first two charts tell us a lot about our data. Now, the suggestion of different charts will give us a whole bunch of them, and many of them just don't make sense. This one, the next one is count of customers by state of residence. Well, this one doesn't make sense just because of our data set. I only have seven people from each state in the data file. But if I had this was actually reflected reality, I may find that the number of people in the Utah area is very low, and that maybe accounts for the lower level of sales. And then down here we can see things that are broken out by actual customer. We see customer sales versus Christmas sales, and so on and so on. So we can select any one of these, and that can be what we use to actually sort of understand in aggregate what's in our data file. The last one is pretty cool. It shows the by customer. It shows the purchase percent by customer, and then it goes in declining or descending order, and then this yellow line here shows the percentage of the overall customer base that we're looking at when we get to each one of these customers. So again, if you're not familiar, just when you open up your file, you can click Insert, go over to Recommended Charts, and see what it recommends for you. Now, if you don't like what it's recommending for you, and you feel very adventurous, you can go back to Insert, and instead of going to Recommended Charts, you can go to the different chart types, and it will show you suggested chart types for each one of these, and you can see kind of what you want to select from. This one will actually ask you to put quite a bit more into it. You're going to have to sort of design your chart for you. And that's something that we can talk about later. But right now, I just wanted to make sure that when we're looking at the aggregate analysis level, that the recommended charts gets us a long way towards being able to really understand what's in our data set.